happened? Welcome to Mash on This, Mashable's daily culture and entertainment show that gives you tomorrow's biggest news stories today, sponsored by Ally's hardest working dollar. I'm your host, Suchin Pak, with the voice of a banshee, also known as Dory Greenberg. On Mash on This, we give you a quick rundown of what we think is the best the internet has to offer. So be sure to tell us what you think in the comments, and we'll get to them at the end of the show. And since we are in the middle of Shark Week, we also have a special exclusive interview with wildlife expert David Mizejewski about sharks and conservation, so be sure to stay tuned for that later in the show. But now, let's get into this other stuff, shall we? As the new White House Communications Director, Anthony "The Mooch" Scaramucci, tries to rid the White House of leakers, the former press secretary is planning his next move. Sean Spicer may have spent the past 6 months yelling at the press like he was doing an impression of Abby Lee Miller from Dance Moms, but now he might be the one dancing and potentially getting yelled at. ABC's Dancing with the Stars is reportedly trying to court the former White House press secretary for its upcoming season. According to Politico, 2 sources have told them that the dance reality show has expressed interest in Spicer joining the celebrity cast. And take that word celebrity with a grain of salt. Spicy wouldn't be the show's first political contestant to have graced the stage either. Rick Perry, who is now somehow America's Secretary of Energy, competed last year but was voted off in the second week because, of course he was. That man doesn't have an ounce of rhythm or good judgment in him. In addition to ABC, Spicer has met with most of the cable news networks to talk about potential talking head positions, but we happen to think ABC would be a good home for Spicer, mostly so that he can be the new Bachelor. Don't you think?
But Dor, I think he's married.
Oh, Sarah, don't you know? They'll take anybody on that show. Speaking of second acts, Hillary Rodham Clinton's long-awaited book title and book cover is here. Clinton's forthcoming memoir is accurately entitled What Happened? And I can only assume that you have to read it like Fred Willard from Best in Show. What happened? Anyway, in the introduction, Clinton writes that she's letting her guard down and promises to reveal personal details of the most controversial and unpredictable presidential elections in history, which saw her losing against Republican candidate Donald Trump. Personally, I would rather claw my eyes out than relive the 2016 presidential election, but if you want to get the inside scoop of what happened, the memoir is due to be released on September 12th. Are y'all going to buy Hill Dog's book? Let us know. Is it coming? Here is a somewhat unsurprising news flash. Jeff Bezos has more money than anyone else on the planet. The founder of Amazon has officially surpassed Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates as the richest human on Earth. According to Bloomberg, as of this morning, Bezos is #1 due to Amazon being literally everywhere these days, which therefore led to a jump in Amazon stock. Shares of the online retailer rose 1.3%, giving Bezos a net worth of $90.9 billion versus $90.7 billion for old Billy Gates, who has been on top of the cash world for a little more than 4 years. So if Amazon holds through the 4 p.m. close of the New York Stock Exchange, Bezos will officially be the new king of cash. Now I wonder if this is why Trump hates Bezos so much. That's gotta be it, right? What do y'all think about all this, though? Holler in the comments. When you're out watching movies, do you ever think that someone is watching you too? Sometimes this is true, especially when the likes of Disney are developing new facial recognition software that predicts how and when you'll react to various parts of a movie. Disney's research team has created a new artificial intelligence algorithm called Factorized Variational Autoencoders, or VVAEs, and they are so effective at recognizing complex expressions that after analyzing a single audience member's face for about 10 minutes, it can predict that person's future expressions for the rest of the film. They even have these super creepy diagrams of specific facial expressions that they use for their research. There are a lot of kind of crazy details about this story, so to get more info about Disney's weird obsession with your face, be sure to check out Gianluca Mezzofiore's article about it on Mashable.com. Like I said earlier in the show, we are in the midst of Shark Week, which is Discovery Channel's thing, as well as Shark Fest, which is Nat Geo's thing. We here at MASH on this absolutely love sharks, so when we jumped at the chance of making a big deal about them for this show. David Mezejewski stopped by Mashable HQ yesterday to get it on the fun, and you might remember him.
Really great at the moment.
Oh, you might remember him when we brought some cute, cuddly baby animals to the office, like this. Oh, it's a little baby black bear. Oh. Sharks are the main event this week, though, so Mashable science editor Andrew Friedman sat down with David to discuss sharks and how they are the ones in danger these days.
What are your favorite facts about sharks that you don't think most people know?
The big fact that I think people don't know is that all of those things that you just said about sharks are actually myths. That they're, dangerous to people, that there's something you should be afraid of, that they're all, just like, the Jaws type shark, a great white. The fact is that there's over 400 different species of sharks and over 600 species of their close relatives, the rays and the skates and the sawfish. And they're so widely diverse and different that there are these animals that are swimming out in the ocean that are sharks that you would never even think that, to call it a shark. They come in all sizes, colors, diet preferences, niche in the ocean. So just the fact that shark diversity is so incredible, I think is something that is one of my favorite facts about sharks that most people don't even think about.
Do you have a favorite species of shark?
I am slightly partial to goblin sharks. These are, deep sea sharks. They've got this big sort of, kind of appendage going on, and they're just, they're pretty awesome looking. They're kind of terrifying and almost like something out of a science fiction movie. So
yeah, they seem like a sci-fi shark species, which would go well with Game of Thrones fans right now. One of the tough things about Shark Week and Shark Fest is this feeling that we get to write all this stuff about sharks, and a lot of what we end up writing is, no, these are myths, and no, you shouldn't think of sharks in the following way. But they're portrayed in the media often, at least in promos, a certain way. How do you combat the myths that are out there, considering how threatened different shark species actually are?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and one that I do a lot of thinking about, because my background is in wildlife conservation. I have a degree in ecology, and I work for the National Wildlife Federation. And first and foremost, I really want to be educating people about wildlife and also promoting conservation. At the same time, my career has evolved into doing this on-camera work, and for me, it's a tremendous opportunity to get those messages out and that education out to really vast audiences that frankly we don't have access to in conservation. And I've learned over the years doing this that there's a formula for it, like anything else, and for good or for ill, oftentimes entertainment media does rely on that flashy hook or an emotional response like fear. And so for me, I think I'm happy to take advantage of that to a degree, to be able to, again, capture people's attention.
What is your top ranking things that you would like to see happen in order to protect these amazing creatures?
One is kind of protecting individual species or groups of species. The other is protecting their habitat. And I think probably the most effective conservation strategies incorporate both of those things. I think one of the biggest things that's happening right now in terms of shark conservation that's a little bit more on the kind of focusing on the species is the effort to get, here in the US anyway, to get shark fin, selling of shark fins in the US really banned. And that's something that's actually bipartisan support for it right now. And groups like Oceana are working on that right now. And the fact of the matter is that of the 100 million sharks that we humans kill every single year, 73 million of them are for the shark fin trade. And if folks don't know, it's pretty gruesome. It's where sharks are caught, their fins are sliced off while they're alive, and they're dumped back on the water. It's the most efficient way to get the end product, which is the shark fin, which is used in soups and other foods. And unfortunately, it happens to be kind of horrifically cruel, probably crueler than other forms of capturing any kind of wild animal for the food trade. And it's having an incredibly huge impact. 73 million sharks every year. So I encourage folks to check out nwf.org, and there are ways that you guys can get involved, everybody out there watching.
So you heard the man. Head out there, nwf.org, to get involved. And sharks are super important. You know, they help regulate ecosystems. They can sense electricity, which is really cool. They're being researched right now to see if their cartilage, because they're only made out of cartilage, if that could help cure some diseases, maybe even help out with cancer research. So they're really, really great. Find out how you can get involved and help give back to the shark community. Oh, and also another thanks again for David Mizejewski for coming out. He is thebomb.com.